Hello, my name is Oscar. I study at the Pan American University of Puerto in the Faculty of Education and Humanities School of Modern Languages. In today's video, I will explain one of the perfect tenses. The perfect tenses are present perfect tense, past perfect tense, and future perfect tense. I will, in this video, describe and explain the present perfect tense. I will talk about how it is structured and some characteristics and examples. As I said, with affirmative, negative, and interrogative sentences. Okay, so first, before diving into the present perfect tense, I wanted to clarify or explain that the perfect tenses are grouped together like that because all of them describe actions that have been completed. That is what is called an aspect of the verb, and it's very important that we take this into account. It's the thing that groups them all together as perfect tenses, even when the time of the verb is different from past, present, or future. In this case, we're going to take a look at present perfect tense, and let's begin with taking a look at the structure. So, the structure is going to vary minimally depending of the type of sentence that we are constructing. If it's an affirmative, negative, or interrogative. But the structure is going to be very similar between those different variations. So let's take a look at how to construct an affirmative present perfect tense sentence. So the structure is as follows. We must use the subject or a pronoun plus an auxiliary verb that is has or have, depending on the subject, plus the past participle and plus the object or the complement. Now let's look at a few examples so we can make sense of this structure. For example, she has finished her work. She has finished her work. And then we see the structure. She is a subject, in this case a pronoun, a personal pronoun. Then we have the auxiliary verb has, she has. The past participle comes in the form of the verb finished. She has finished. And then the complement or the end of the sentence, which is her work. She has finished her work. Okay, so that is the structure, and that is one example, but let's see a few other sentences and keep breaking down the structure so we can learn it. For example, we have opened all the windows. We have opened all the windows. And there we have the structure again. We, subject, in this case a pronoun, auxiliary verb, have instead of has. We have the past participle, which is opened. We have opened. And then the complement, in this case, all the windows. We have opened all the windows. I will go on and say a few more sentences, a few more affirmative sentences before we go to negative. So what other examples could I give you? We could have he has eaten lunch already. He has eaten lunch already. There we see again the subject, pronoun, he. That could be a name. That could be Daniel. has, auxiliary verb, eaten, past participle, and then the complement, lunch already. Daniel has eaten lunch already. So the interesting thing here is that even when when we're talking about present perfect tense, the action has already been completed. I find that very interesting and very necessary to take into account, and do not mistake this present perfect tense for past, because that is different. So one final example before moving on to negative, we have it has fallen off the wall. It has fallen off the wall. This time the subject is an object. It could be a painting. The painting has fallen off the wall. We have the auxiliary verb has, then the past participle fallen off. You have the wall, fallen off the wall. Okay, so we have understood how to construct the affirmative present perfect tense sentences. Now let's take a look at the negative. To form a negative present perfect tense sentence, the thing that we must do is place the word not after the auxiliary verb have or has. And in some cases, we will use contractions to make the speech more natural, more conversational. We could not use a contraction, but it will sound a bit rigid, a bit old-fashioned. So again, we have the structure: subject plus have has, the auxiliary verb, plus not, plus past participle, and then the complement. For example, I haven't finished my homework. I, subject, haven't, in this case, this is a contraction of have not finished, the past participle, my homework, that's the complement. How would that sound without the contraction? That would be, I have not finished my homework. That is entirely correct, but it's not as natural as using the contraction haven't. It sounds rigid and old-fashioned and very serious. I have not. Usually, we hear I haven't. I haven't. Another example. She hasn't seen this movie. She hasn't seen this movie. Okay, so the same thing. She is the subject. Then we have the contraction formed by the auxiliary verb has and the word not. Has not, hasn't seen this movie. Seen is a past participle verb, and then the complement, the movie. So she hasn't seen the movie. Again, without the contraction, it would sound a bit old-fashioned. She has not seen this movie. It's a bit rigid, not very natural. And let's see what final example before moving on to interrogative. With, let's see, maybe this one. We haven't eaten lunch yet. Similar to the one that we did before in affirmative, but you see the difference here. We is a subject pronoun. Haven't is a contraction of the auxiliary verb have and not. We haven't. And then the past participle, eaten. We haven't eaten lunch yet. That's the complement. We haven't eaten lunch yet. And there we have how to structure and how to convey with examples the present perfect tense negative sentences. And finally, we're going to take a look at how this structure changes when asking a question, meaning when forming an interrogative sentence. So, for a present perfect interrogative sentences, these are formed by placing the auxiliary verbs that we have learned and seen so far, have and has, before the subject, and that is the main change. Then that is followed by the past participle of the main verb. So let's see this with some examples so we can understand it better. Again, so the structure is then starting with the auxiliary verb have or has plus the subject, then the past participle, and then the complement. So some interrogative sentences with this structure would be: have you eaten dinner? Have you eaten dinner? So we have, the auxiliary verb, then the subject, which is the pronoun you, then the past participle, eaten, and finally the complement, dinner. Have you eaten dinner? Okay, let's see another one. Has, this case with has he worked today? Has he worked today? Has he worked today? We have again has, the auxiliary verb, then the subject, which is he, then the past participle, worked, and the complement, which is today. And let's finish up with a final example with the third person in plural. Have they played the game? Have they played the game? Again, we have the auxiliary verb have, then the subject pronoun they in plural, third person, played, past participle, the game. Have they played the game? That's something that you will probably say when playing with a couple of people that isn't doing very well or are not good at whatever you're playing. Have they ever played the game? Okay. And that is how you structure and form the present perfect tense in English with examples. We took a look at the structure and the characteristics of both affirmative, negative, and interrogative sentences. And we observed that the quality that, or the characteristic that encompasses all of these perfect tenses is that the action that is being described has already been completed. And that'll be all for today's video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Goodbye for now.